I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jeff, you are up front.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, thank you for allowing me to get up first. I've actually got to go back home and study for my 3-hour exam tomorrow to get my 2A operator's license. So officially licensed hopefully by 12 o'clock tonight. The report was pretty in-depth this past month, but once again we've had a lot of annual preventative maintenance work performed on the plant. I'll spare you the time of going through all those reports. One thing that was noted, we finally fixed our State Street generator. It had a failed water pump and a belt, so our operators had replaced that in-house, and we summoned Kinsley back to the scene so they could perform their annual service. Upon inspection, Ricky Gagnon from Kinsley noticed that the diesel fuel tank underneath the generator is badly blistered and pitted. We discovered that that generator is in fact the tank on it is single line. A single line tank should not be by the water, by the French Creek River, or anywhere in the village for that matter. All the new generators that we've been equipping are double line tanks. So I'm not sure if that got grandfathered in or overseen when it was first installed, but we are now obtaining quotes to replace it with a double line tank. The question came up whether or not we would be replacing it with a portable unit on the side adjacent to the generator. After talking with our engineers, we decided that probably wouldn't be the best avenue to go. There's a lot of aesthetics there. It's right on the side of State Street on the bridge. We didn't want to have to pour another pad and go through the DEC registration of that, so we're going to look for an in-kind tank. So more to come on that. I guess we've got a couple anniversaries celebrated this past month. Eric Kingman celebrated his 21st anniversary on the 7th, and Dustin Orvis celebrated his 6-year anniversary. So kudos to them, and kudos to the village too. They seem to be maintaining a longevity of workers here. When I was in Wisconsin the last 7 years, I saw about half of my staff turn over up in 6 years' time. So that's a testament to the organization here. That being said, our guys last month, right before that big rainstorm we had on the 10th, on the weekend attendant Marshall Green noticed that the SBR number 3 wasn't receiving any air, and when the blowers came on, there was a volcano effect at the incoming end of the tank. So he immediately called me, and we made emergency process changes. We bypassed SBR 3, and we're strictly running 2 SBRs for all of our wastewater treatment. That's a little uncomfortable to do when you're predicting this storm on the 10th, and so we really didn't do what we should have been hire a contractor, come up with the equipment and fix it. We didn't have the time, so our guys came up with a plan, and we jumped down there and we took care of it ourselves. And it actually worked out because we had the repair fixed the day before that rain came down, and we actually left the tank empty, and we allowed that tank to fill up with the rain, so it bought us a lot of time at the waste treatment plant. We actually never overflowed, and so that was kind of a little serendipitous moment there that all happened in the timing it did. We did have 2 overflows on the 10th as a result of that storm. We did receive 3.87 inches of rain. East Union was the first to overflow, followed shortly by Riverside Drive. So New York alerts were reported, non-compliance reports were filed. Since then, we have had a DEC inspection. Paula Jacobs came out on the 31st. We discussed some of the non-compliance reports that I had issued as a result of some of the incoming rains, and discussed that these are acts of God, and the village will not be receiving any notice of violations for those. So that being said, we did have to minorly revise our wet weather ops plan. This is something that the DEC adheres us to very closely every year. It's basically a plan that states when X, Y, and Z happens, we do A, B, C. So we had to make some minor revisions to the Riverside pump station. The seawall that was designed for the pump station was originally designed to keep the river waters out of our control room and out of our pump station, but lately with these rains we've been finding that wet well within those walls overflowing, and it's actually expanded our wet well. So we worked on some control devices where we could prevent that water that's inside that seawall from entering the St. Lawrence River. So we've got a couple plans in place. This should buy us more time. We won't have to file a notice of non-compliance if that were to overflow again. We could actually contain all that water within the seawall and still consider that part of the wet well. So I encourage the board to review that plan and get back to me with any questions. Last month we also had the DEC spill response team was quite active. We had them out here 2 times in a matter of like a week and a half. Fortunately, none of these spills were our crew's faults, but our crews did aid the situation quite nicely. Our DPW crews were able to collect all of the spill right from the waste management truck, and the kerosene leak in the business on Riverside Drive. We basically just made sure it was isolated to that area. We didn't want any of that kerosene finding its way into the sewer system, because just literally dozens of gallons of diesel fuel or petroleum could upset the microorganisms that the wastewater plant depends on. So that being said, that was clean, and I think that was about all. Oh, the one action I had wanted to seek approval to accept Hydestone as our maintenance contractors for our HVAC units. So, as you know, since we had this recent addition put on the wastewater plant, we added quite a few heating units, hydronic heating units on the ceiling that require a man lift to service once a year. So we didn't like the first quote they came back with us. I asked them if they could, consider maybe doing some of just the heating units on an annual maintenance and then the air exchangers on a biannual maintenance like they had planned. We also discussed dropping the cost down a little bit if I were to be able to borrow DPW's man lift for their inspections and services. So that cost I had laid out could go down a couple $100 if we provide our own man lift. But I was seeking approval to go forward with Hydestone, 3-year contract.
But do we do is this who you've been using for years and years, or do you do a bidding? How does it all, how did you pick Hydestone?
So before we basically hired our local contractor, Hazelwood, to address any problems that we were foreseeing. We didn't have many units. We've got a forced air boiler down at the low lift plant. We've got electric heat at the wastewater plant, so we really didn't need a lot of maintenance there. But it was this capital project that really added on a lot of these air exchangers. So Riverside has an air exchanger now. There's an air exchanger down at ELS 1A where the chemical bulk storage is located. So they need to maintain those air exchanging devices at least annually.
Is Hazelwood not capable of doing that?
Hazelwood, I sent them the list. I sent them all the information, and I called him probably 2 or 3 times and said, "Are you interested?" He acted like he was interested. I don't think he had the time to actually sit down and look at the paperwork and come back with a message.
Anyone else, or did you contact anyone else?
Hazelwood's, and in fact, it was our engineering department in Dank that put this request for quote together.
Okay.
So they invited all their big players.
Oh, they did? Okay, great. Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. And that's all I had this evening.
Any questions for Jeff?
Thanks. Good work.
It's a pleasure.
Super, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any questions on the police activity report?
Are we repeating things that we saw last time, or is this some of these things happening?
What do you,
So did we have indecent exposure on here last time, and we have one on here this time, but this is from the beginning of the month to the end? Maybe we can ask them to just tell us what happened in the last 2 weeks.
Well, they usually do, but we also now have coverage, 7-day coverage, so you're going to have more incidences.
But, so is this a repeat from last time, or is it the same?
Yes, it was something, I don't think, no, it is not a repeat. There's something that happened down at downtown, I think at O'Brien's or something,
So
one
it's a
night.
new one.
Yeah, it's a new one, yes.
Right.
Terry?
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you got a copy of the DPW activity report with all of our email issues that we've been having. Thanks, Amanda, for getting that on the website for me. I noted, before I get started, we got a thank you letter, and John Farmer is going to be leaving soon, so I want to read this letter from Tom LeClaire. It was addressed to me, DPW, Mr. Terry Jones. I wish to share my appreciation to John Farmer for his strong support of the private Joseph Lonsway Pomeroy Foundation Historic Roadside Marker dedication on Friday, August 2nd, 2024. In the weeks before the ceremony, I approached John to install the marker in 2 phases. First the pole, and later attaching the marker to the pole. He was prompt and attentive to my needs. As a Clayton historian, I could not ask for better support. I wish to recognize his professionalism in all of this. I can proudly state that Clayton's newest William G. Pomeroy Foundation sign stands secure along Route 12 and just inside the St. Mary's Cemetery. And this is something that we are going to miss. This is a guy that's been here for 40 years. And I'm going to segue into his replacement on the agenda. There is a motion to hire Jeremy Jennis as a motor vehicle operator in the intent to replace John Farmer when he leaves in December, and the eventual replacement of me when I decide to retire in 2 years in Lowe's County. So I know we had discussions about Jeremy. I know Bob and I sat down with Jeremy, and Nancy's met him. I'm not sure if he's introduced himself to the rest of the board, but the next board meeting, he will be an employee, and I'd be more than happy if you decide to hire him, have him here to meet. He'll do a great job. He's a very personable guy, and he's pays attention to detail. This is kind of out of his league. I don't want to say out of his league because he's run a backhoe. He has a CDL. He's done those kinds of things. But it'll be a learning experience of working on water and sewer lines and dealing with the public the way we do and just the day-to-day routine of the village. But I'm confident that he will excel and be a perfect replacement for both myself and John going forward.
So could I have you had a question about?
Yeah, so I just want to say that I met Jeremy. Terry asked me to interview him a few weeks back. He's a very knowledgeable guy. I met also one of his former employers who speaks very highly of him. I guess I'm a little concerned with the process we're going through here because we're advertising on Indeed.com for a foreman. And this says motor vehicle operator, and my understanding when we talked to Jeremy was that we were talking to him to be a foreman.
He is, eventually, he will become a foreman. But I'm not sure why it came out as an MEO. I don't know if that's the title that we have to go with.
We have to use that title for civil service.
Civil service.
Yes.
Want to make a motion to approve him as foreman, that's fine. We put him as an MEO because we currently have a foreman.
Okay,
Until John
I guess my concern is
So his title would technically be supervisor in training. But civil service doesn't have that title, so she asked us to approve it as MEO, and we can call him whatever we like within the village. But civil service, according to civil service, he has to be either an MEO or a foreman. We already have him.
I guess my concern is that motor vehicle operator at this salary is something that would be difficult to explain to our constituents. So that's my biggest concern, and I'm also concerned too that we don't really, I know we didn't hire a laborer for this job, but we're only 3 months into the fiscal year. So I've done the math between the two. It's basically, this pay is twice what a laborer is going to be paid. So I mean, we're going to be upside down by the end of December, presuming that's when John's leaving, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, that's an additional, I think it's $2,400, $2,500 or something like that that we're going to have to spend, bring in the salary. And my concern is that we're spending money elsewhere where we weren't planning on spending money with other employees and that sort of thing. So now we're adding on to that. So what's the difference if we wait another month and then do what we want to do then? And at least that will break even at some point. And I presume we have something in writing from John that says I'm leaving in December.
Yes, I do have a look. He isn't required to, but I do have a retirement letter.
We discussed all this at the executive session at the last meeting, and the board all voted that it was fine. We went ahead and put
That's not really what we discussed. We didn't discuss it. And again, I'm not against it, but I thought we had discussed we're going to post the position.
We did post the position.
Yeah, for
And
2
she
weeks.
got two,
And she got two.
okay. applicants, which actually we have forwarded on to the town
Okay.
because they weren't, according to, they would not be good applicants. They weren't local.
Like
You-
our job description, our job has said, like, within close
Yeah,
proximity
within the
of
village,
local
yeah.
government ones, and that's-
Right.
It's tough to do
Yeah.
this job.
No, I was just curious because I thought we were going to post it. And
We
then,
did.
But we didn't, but again, like what Bob's saying, we had discussed at the executive session that it was going to be a foreman, not a motor vehicle operator. So that took me by surprise too, because that's what I thought we were going to do, right?
That's not what we discussed in our executive
didn't?
session. No, no.
This
And
is
we,
the motor vehicle operator?
no, it has to be the motor vehicle operator because there is no civil service classification for supervisor in training. He
We
will not,
discussed we discussed foreman, but I understand now based on what
Right.
you said, why it was posted as such.
right.
I understand what Bob was saying too about just the general public questioning the salary amount for MEO.
And also for basically a 3-month training period.
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Well, I really wish you all had brought this up months and months ago because we've talked about this and we discussed it to length in our executive session. We brought it up. He has,
I'm not against.
I'm not against
I mean,
him.
the conversation was, no matter, if we didn't find anybody through Indeed, we will hire him.
And
And
we
all
both-
3 of you agreed to
And we
that.
posted it for 2 weeks.
And we did, yes,
It was 2 weeks.
yes.
Because Indeed said it was posted for 3 days. The job is up for 3 days, as of Saturday. The other thing I was interested in too is that, I don't know, maybe it's an oversight, but it said on the applicant, on the job posting, that the job description was on our website, and I couldn't find it on our website, the job description for this foreman's job,
They're all on the
on the website.
Yes.
So how would a person wanting to apply for this know to do that if it wasn't obvious? Because I couldn't find it at all. I looked in each one of those
Typically,
categories, I couldn't
we've
find
had
it.
phone couple of people call, where can I help you?
Yeah, okay, so, I mean, you posted it, I get it, but like I said, I'm looking at Indeed, and it said the job was posted for 3 days.
So I posted it 12 days ago, and it still says it's an open job. That's what it says on my,
Okay, so yeah, you posted basically the day after our meeting.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's right. And it's put up there.
and
We
it
only
says
have
it's
2.
still open now. I haven't closed it
And
because
we had only
we had to
2
make a
hours.
decision.
Yeah.
But I think it said also you gave until the 22nd to respond, right?
And that way, so we could get them before the meeting.
So what,
And then our 26th. So that's why.
and we definitely have a specific time that John is leaving, absolutely.
Yeah, December 27th, I believe is the date. I think Amanda has a copy of the letter.
And you
now,
feel we need someone for him or whoever for 4 months?
He needs some training, yes. He'll definitely need to work closely with John, see what he does. He'll actually get in the ditch. If we got a dig job, he'll get in the ditch.
Yeah.
He needs to, he wants to.
Yeah, yeah.
So is there any opportunity, Terry, to bring him in at what an MEO would be making and then boost him up when John leaves?
That's entirely up to however you guys, this,
So
I'm just the messenger here and going by what I was,
Didn't we figure the math
informed
out
with on
once
this
already?
agenda.
That we were
Yes,
gonna
we
be
did.
okay with the math
Yes.
because of the timeframe that.
Because John's leaving, you're absorbing the laborer's rate on top of John's pay, rate of pay from, let's say, January to June.
Right. I think we did that math.
And he
already.
won't get overtime.
And he will not get
He's not
any
in the
overtime.
union.
He's
He's
not
gonna be
union.
salaried. There will be no overtime for him.
So,
Where John gets overtime.
so you're saying it's gonna wash?
Yes.
It's,
And there will be a 4-month term where we have full overtime, but if we don't hire the laborer that we're budgeting for until after, we could possibly put it in next year's budget if we wanted to, but if we don't hire that person, an extra laborer, we've got those funds to cover the next 4 months.
Not to mention the FICA expenses also to be greater because of the
So
salary.
scary is another.
So if we hire him, then we do not need to hire a laborer.
We won't
Either-
hire
we
labor
won't-
because
either
we
now-
that
don't
was
have
the
it in our
intention,
budget.
like, yes, is that I,
And then-
from my understanding.
Will he potentially, because I notice we always get a lot of overtime in the water and sewer, is there any cross, you know what I mean? Is there potential to save a little overtime on that end?
No.
Or is that a completely different?
It's completely different because you would need your licenses, and he's not licensed for water.
No,
But to
Will
do
be
a
a
water or
part of
sewer
labor.
job, he would be doing
Oh, he'd be
it on
doing
his
it.
salary pay, as I
Yes.
am, when I go.
right, well,
I-
that's what I'm wondering. is
Yep.
Maybe because, I mean, every month, because things happen.
Right.
There's always a decent
So he's in the
amount
ballpark of
overtime.
what John makes.
Right.
And, I know he'll do well. I've all the utmost confidence in him. I've known him for several years, many years now. He's not afraid. He's not afraid to get dirty. He's not afraid to run equipment, run the dump trucks. I mean, he's obviously
Yeah, we really should
driving
be talking
school
about
bus.
the personnel stuff as much as just, I
Right.
think the issue is the process, right? There was some
Right, I got
confusion
you.
Because all of a sudden, we had talked about a foreman and now it's all of a sudden,
Right, I
So
absolutely
we're just
understand
trying
what you're
to
saying.
understand the process because I think it's important that we follow and we consistently follow a process. And we
Understand.
post jobs and we post them for X amount, but we have, it's been 2 weeks now. And you're saying you do to everybody else, so. Okay. Anyone else have any?
I know.
I strongly think we ought to start him off at a lesser salary. And if this is basically $28 an hour, if we start him off at $22 an hour and in the next 60 days bring him up to where it's a reasonable period of time for John to step out and step in, then we're fine. And then we can tell our taxpayers that we don't have 3 guys in supervisory positions making that kind of money. Because we will have it.
I disagree.
Well, he will not take the job. And
We all make choices, I get that, but the point is that if he's given something, documentation, some sort of contract or agreement, rather than a contract, but an agreement that here's the process, here's what we're doing. Otherwise, we can push this off for a month and that'll resolve the money issue.
he probably won't take the job then. It'll be gone.
And
Well, I mean, we can ask them.
We have had I apologize, we have had these discussions before 3 of you were on. Terry and I have met with him for months and months. Well beforehand, we've had these discussions. You met with Terry and Janice, you could have asked these questions.
I did.
Anyone could have come to me and asked these questions, And we discussed all of this in executive session 2 weeks ago, which you weren't available to come to. And now tonight,
Well, you gotta understand, again, that all of a sudden it's a different job, right? So
it wasn't a
so
different job.
It says motor vehicle operator.
But
which
we cannot,
discussed before.
you
No, I know,
cannot.
we didn't know that. I didn't know that. Bob didn't know that.
2 weeks ago, that wasn't the case.
Well,
So you
that
gotta
we
understand
apologize
that-
for.
that,
But what's the problem?
Well, I mean, that was an issue, that was the problem, and then the timeline, and, I mean, I think it makes sense, again, we represent the taxpayers, so doesn't it make sense to say, hey, look,
We
you know,
have. Have we not talked to him
We've
about that?
spoken, I don't know what's gone on behind closed doors.
No,
because
but you
wasn't
and I
there.
have
Yeah, we
talked about
spoke.
starting at different levels, and the answer was, I can't. It has
I
been
just thought that's
spoken.
why that number was there.
Pardon me?
That, I thought that's why that 60,000 was there, because
Yes.
that's something that
That's
you had
what-
all agreed on.
Right.
I mean, like I
No,
said,
you're
I don't-
right. I did not confer with this entire board because it's been going on for over a year. And again, in executive session, the three of you said, whether or not anybody applies for this job, we will go ahead and hire him, and that
well, I did not say that,
That
I
was
said we gotta
three.
go through the process.
And we've gone through the
Right,
process.
but I didn't say, just
Well,
clear,
I
I
don't-
didn't say whether or not, I said we need to go through the process, that's all.
And we did go through the process.
Yeah, so, went through the 2 weeks, so that's good, post the job. And you don't think that, and you feel he needs to get hired immediately?
Yeah, I mean, he's left his job based on,
Oh, he already did.
So
he
he's been
left
told
his
he
job
has a
based
job,
on
is that right?
this,
He's
yes.
been told he has a job.
He's been told that he's
Yes,
probably
he's
going
been
to get
told he
hired.
has
yes.
a job.
Well, that concerns me.
Well, then you can come and discuss it with me later.
That concerns me.
But you had all these opportunities to talk to him. You had opportunities to talk with him. You have not reached out to me about it. I had said in executive session, we've been talking about this for months and months and months. It was before Mr. Kinney got on, and you sat there and you haven't said anything, and you met him. You've had the opportunity, and now it's become a
It's
big
not about the
problem.
person, so I think.
It's not about him, Nancy, it's about the fact that I discussed with him his background and experience, and I discussed with him his former employers. I did not discuss with him coming on board at any time. I did not discuss with him or Terry anything except my first reaction was, did John retire? Is John going to retire? And your answer was, not yet.
And he
So I
wrote
said,
his
well,
retirement letter.
I said, until we have John's retirement letter in hand and the board sees it, then John's not retiring. Because he won't be the first one to say, hey, I'm going to retire and then decide not to. Because he said it once before and he said, oh, wait a minute. So
Who said that?
I
Who
thought
said
you told
that?
me that's what John said. But anyway.
John's never,
Then I misunderstood.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
so,
John never said
but anyway, the point is that we, my understanding was is that, I had no indication of when he was going to start or how he was going to start and that sort of thing. First time I heard about him starting on September 2nd was when I read it in these minutes here, so, apparently he's been told he has a job. He left his other job.
I feel that everybody would be in agreement if it was listed as foreman versus MEO. It sounds like we're stuck on a title right now.
No, I think we're stuck on money is what I'm stuck on. I mean, we're hiring two new guys. We have one new guy, and we're hiring another new guy, and now we're going to hire a DPW guy at $60,000 a year, which is fine, except now we have three of them on there. And I just think that it doesn't have to be done today.
Well, I fail to understand when you say we've just hired 3 new guys. And yes, we hired a zoning officer, we hired a codes individual, and now Jeremy, but they're in 2 different departments.
Okay, but still coming out of the same till.
Yes,
Still
and
coming out of the
we
taxpayers'
have
dollars.
the monies because we're no longer paying for the codes down at Riverside Drive, so that's a wash. We are not hiring a labor this year at all.
Did we know that? We're not paying for
We never
Richard
have
anymore?
paid for Richard. We paid Richard for zoning, but that's another topic.
It's a town thing, right?
Yes, we've
But
only,
we pay the town.
we pay the town.
Okay, so
But-
that money's still going out.
No, but we'll discuss,
Is it?
no, that money is not going out because the town pays him to be a code officer. We were paying him to be a zoning officer. He's no longer zoning, so the town does not pay it. We will not be paying the town for the codes job.
All right, so, is it possible to just try to work out a compromise and see if he, or for the first month even, just,
We tried that, to be honest. We've talked to him about that. It's been talked about more than once, and he said no. I mean, I can bring in all the reasons, but that doesn't really matter what
well, yeah, no,
the
we don't need
reasoning
to
are.
know personally,
Right.
no, not at all. And again, it's not him, I just think, again, all of a sudden, like Bob said, we're all of a sudden hiring, I thought the process would take a little slower, quite frankly, myself. When we posted the job, for 2 weeks, I didn't think we'd be hiring someone today, so that was a surprise to me. So, it's a budgetary issue, but, I mean, what do we say, Tim, when somebody says, well, why do you have,
You explain it to him. I don't
What
see
do we
what.
say?
yeah, like
We'll say,
4 months? of
you know,
training?
that if he needs training, obviously. And he's going to fill those shoes of John and be the foreman, non-union, which John is in the union, so it's more of a contractual thing based on that. And the eventual turnover of taking my position, probably not at my rate of pay at first, but to get him in the door and get him here to get that training, I think that's probably the number that he thought he could make work.
And he's a qualified motor vehicle, like,
Yes,
if
yeah.
somebody says.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Clean.
So we're not training him to be motor vehicle.
No, he already has a CDL drive school
And
bus.
do we have any other motor vehicle officers, and how much do they get paid, or operators, sorry?
Yeah, we had Mark, Mike, Toby,
Do
and
they
John.
get paid, tell me?
Right, they get their penny
About the
rate.
same?
John gets $2, I think, something.
Yeah, well, you don't have to tell me
More.
specifics, okay, so about the same, right?
Yeah,
Close.
they're all roughly the same.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Okay, thank you. And again, there's the hopeful potential that maybe we can save on some overtime
Definitely,
as well, right?
definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Eventually, when John goes away, then, you've got him in place of John.
Sure.
He's the new John, let's say.
But I'm talking about for the next
3 months or
when we have a
whatever.
lot of work.
Well, we wouldn't, I know that you all were not involved in these conversations, but conversations with the treasurer, conversations with the clerk, conversations with the DPW supervisor. If he was to get overtime, we would not bring him in at that salary because it would be outrageous.
And I believe there was money budgeted for labor. which we
Yes, there
decided
was,
we're hiring
right.
laborers, so that
And
was-
we're not
that was
going
our
to in this
justification,
calendar
was
year.
Yeah,
So,
And that's what we discussed.
I just didn't think we were out of this stuff.
Right.
That's just my surprise.
that's why I thought this was.
I thought,
We will also save a little bit when it transitions from John to Jeremy for health insurance, because Jeremy will be paying 25% of his health insurance. John will pays it 20 or
8.
He's 8.
John pays
Yeah,
8.
Because he's
So-
spending.
So that will
So he'll
save
pay
us-
more.
I can tell you exactly how much. I just-
No, that's all right.
That will save us
Yeah, okay.
some action.
I have no
I really don't see a budget problem.
I would ask that in the future that we have all of this laid out for the board, the financial impact to the business, to the village, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, instead of saying, now we have to rubber stamp, because that's what we're doing. We're going to rubber stamp hiring this guy with little information until tonight. So, I mean, that's concerning to me that, we're making.
well, I can
we're kind of backed
understand,
into a
and
corner.
I
We're kind of backed
appreciate,
into a corner making these decisions.
and I will do that from now on, but I also think that I've been in this community over 20 years, I've been on this board for 8 years, and if you honestly think that I was going to F and screw the community because of that, I take offense to that.
Well, this has
because
nothing
I
to do with
have-
that, Nancy.
But you said that.
No,
It-
no, you're getting.
All right, I
defensive.
apologize
So,
then.
but I think.
I
I think
apologize.
what the issue is just a first process, right? So, normally, again, there really isn't a rush here, other than he quit his job, right? But in our end, there isn't a
Right.
rush. And when you post a job for 2 weeks, then usually, you know, you interview the 2 or 3 candidates, I understand we didn't really have any, but this, you know, these things usually take about a month.
Right.
You know, and then now we're 3 months versus 4 months, okay, that's what I thought.
So that's then,
So I think
I
just-
will take the
yeah, so-
responsibility because I
Just
was
going
the one
forward, that's all.
that orchestrated this behind the scenes before a lot of you came on the board. So that is I will take that
Yeah, and
responsibility.
and you know, you're a go-getter, and I get that, so that's not a bad thing, but just, I think we all want to be part of the process, and we want to, I do anyway, slow it down a little bit, unless, you know, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency, no doubt.
Well, again, my
Yeah.
fault, because we've
Yeah,
been
no,
talking
so-
about
yeah.
it for months, and what I heard at the last board meeting was, we'll do this process, but we'll go ahead and hire, and I know I said we were gonna talk about this at the next meeting to get them hired for September 3rd.
Yeah, I thought we'd have some candidates, but that's, you know, we did.
Has the town had much success?
No, they haven't. It's a
Yeah.
tough market.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do it, and if they do it, they want big money
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
I hate to say this, but 10 years down the line, and including the town of Clayton, I think it's going to be tough to find MEOs. I think villages and towns are going to end up contracting out. It's a sad thing to say, but nobody wants to work. You know, everybody wants to go home at 3:30 and take Saturday and Sunday off. You don't find those guys that are willing to get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning and freeze their butts off and go out and fix a water main. They're gone. They're few and far between. We are dinosaurs.
Yeah,
And it's unfortunate that's come to that in the workplace today. But the reality is, you know, we have 2 guys right up there right now, Mark and Mike. Exceptional mechanics, can fix anything. There's going to come a day, very soon, that they're not going to be here. And guess what? Instead of getting that air brake fixed in 2 hours or whatever it takes those 2 to do it, it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, because guess what? We got to wait because everybody else is doing the same thing we are. We're a month out just to get trucks looked at, pickup trucks that are having issues. So when it comes right down to it, we are, in my personal opinion, all the towns and villages are going to be experiencing the same issues because of it. Wages and taxes. You know, people don't, you know, they make $24, $25 an hour. Yep, they do. But everybody, minimum wage is $15. But so this is going like this, but you know, the workmen, the MEOs, those kinds of guys, you know, are climbing like that. So that's the way I see it. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it all, but
Yeah, and I don't
we want to keep what we have
Yeah,
right now, and if
yeah,
we can
yeah.
find those guys,
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't want you to think that I'm
I
insulting.
absolutely do not.
I
You
really
guys have a
appreciate
job to
it.
do. You're looking out for the taxpayers. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you. A lot of the things you people say, I do. I absolutely do. And someday I may be on a town board because I get it. I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
I absolutely get it.
And you'd be great on it,
Oh, thank you.
Tom.
Better on the village board.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
right.
can't be on a village board
But-
unless I move here.
Yeah, so I mean,
I want to acknowledge the work that Terry did,
Yeah.
Nancy, and Bob, to interview Jeremy behind the scenes, and that took a lot of time.
And recruit.
Took a lot of effort
yeah, thank you.
for the 3 of you to do that.
Thanks. Yeah, let's do it.
We make a motion?
Are we going to bring him on as an MEO, or did we decide that, or as a?
But we have to bring him on as an MPO, is that correct? Just officially?
Or, no, she said earlier that we didn't have to.
You can do it as a foreman, we'll just have 2 foremen listed on our civil service. She suggested otherwise, but basically, we have to hire him as an MEO, she said, and I can show you the emails from civil service. We can call him in-house whatever we want. We can call him in-house supervisor and training if we want. That's the title as far as civil services. And I don't know, you could probably do this motion as MEO/supervisor and training, and that was, as long as it says MEO, it will satisfy civil service.
Or foreman, instead of supervisor and trainer, foreman. If
But a foreman,
That's
That's what we
otherwise?
advertise.
but a foreman, and correct me if I'm wrong, a foreman is not management, and would they be required to join the union? No, I'm talking about a foreman.
But
So if they say bring him in as a foreman, is he gonna have to join the union?
From what I gathered, no, he doesn't. John could have got out of the union, but John was actually willing to get out of the union.
But if we posted the position, we have to undercut at whatever we posted, right? Otherwise, we have to post the position again. Because we are a government agency, we can't post a position and hire someone for another position, right? So what was the position he's actually posted for?
Foreman. Then we'll hire him as foreman.
Then, yeah, I think that's.
It's a good way to sort that out.
People would be calling wondering why we have performance, but
Nobody's going to ask that. They're going to ask why is an MEO being paid $60,000 a year? That's what they're going to ask.
either way, I want to get it done.
So you making the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
To hire him as a foreman, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
No, thank you.
Attenuator.
Yeah, let's talk about the attenuator.
Laughing at that.
So as you all know, we're not utilizing the attenuator. So we got to get rid of it. It's sitting over at French Creek Marina.
I have
Okay.
no idea what you're talking about.
The dog leg.
So we're gonna, I guess the plan is just to,
The old one.
the old one that, okay.
I thought you meant the new one.
No, the one that was there originally, the
Got it,
concrete
got it,
one,
got it.
that originally, when it was all planned out, originally, was supposed to be attached to the long section.
Okay.
But in design, they thought that that would be a failure. So they separated them. In turn, that became a little bit tipsy and didn't do the proper job that it was intended to do.
Right.
So we moved it out of the way last fall because we were afraid they were going to smash into each other and break the concrete. And we moved it to French Creek. And it's been there since last late fall, let's say. So, being there's no use for it, and we've replaced, and we actually have added the wave attenuator from Tyco, or Keo Marine, it used to be Tyco. Keo Marine, there's no real use for it. Now, I've called French Creek Marina because that's where it's at, and asked Hines if he'd be interested. I know the yacht club is interested in it, maybe for a swim platform or some sort. But my idea was to, and it weighs 250 tons, so it isn't like you're just going to yank it out of the water. And somebody, let's say in North Carolina is going to come and get it and transport it down there. So, I mean, if we advertise it in the TI Sun, we only had to pay 5% for it, so roughly, I would guess what our share was $3,000. Are you going to get $3,000 out of it? I'll be honest with you, probably not. But anything we can get out of it, plus we have 2 gangways that came along with it, 11 foot by 4 foot and a 22 by 4 foot. And I know there's a lot of interest in those, just from talking to Adam, the foreman on the job. And so there's definitely interest in them. So we could definitely get rid of them and just take the highest bidder. I'm not sure if you could even put, I don't know if you could put a minimum bid even on it, maybe $500. I really don't know. We could start there.
Yeah, it makes sense to bid it out.
And then, we cut our losses. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if it's cost $60,000, it only cost us $3,000. So actually, at the end of the day,
So I gotta
somebody
say-
gets to use it. If the kids can play on it over at the yacht club, or
Yeah.
Heinz can use it at the marina, or somebody else can use it, then it's a win situation. The village can say, hey, that used to be ours, and that was great that somebody like that can get it over the yacht.
And there's no place that we could use it or the town.
I've thought about it. The only place I could think of putting it is out in front of Frink Park, so the kids could play off of it. But the thing is, there's
You got
no swimming at
liability,
Frink
right,
Park.
liability
Yes,
issues, right.
it'd be a liability issue. So
We put it at the end of Union Street.
At
Sorry,
the-
I had to say
at
that.
the end of Union Street.
I suggest we try to sell them separately.
Yeah.
So break up the gangways.
Yes,
For
I
sale
agree.
separately, each one separately, and then.
Yep. Okay, and that's actually what I was gonna suggest to do, not sell them as a package. Yep,
And can we post it for a couple weeks?
it will
in a row?
be for 2 weeks.
Good, good.
We'll post it for 2 weeks. Highest bidder, bring it into the clerk's office by such and such a date, such and such a time. We'll open them up here on a Friday afternoon or whatever, and highest bidder gets it.
And then they have to pick it up.
And they have to come and get it and move it, and that would be the stipulation
Right.
that we
Yes.
would advertise it as. That, absolutely.
No free delivery.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll make a motion
Make a
to do
motion.
that, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do you want to also talk about the roof,
I do. So,
please?
that's a typo on there. I looked at the calendar, and I looked at the 5th of August, not the September, it's September 3rd, the week of the 3rd. They'll be here to, start the roof project. So that layout, and I spoke with Joe today, wasn't keen on where the dumpster is, but there's really no other location to put that dumpster. What they want to do is set the dumpster. They only plan to be here about a week and a half to 2 weeks, and that's if the weather's good. So they're not going to be here too long. It'll close off the front entrance because they have to work off this roof, and this will be their access point as far as getting the materials out, up and off the roof. They'll line the materials up, as you can see, over by the handicap spot. And then the dumpster would be to this side of where the police park, and the forklift, they would move at night and then open that section of Mary Street at night. So it'll only be closed during the business hours of those guys, which I'm not sure what they, probably 7 to 5. I'm not really sure. We haven't spoke about that part of it yet. But that's it in a nutshell. I just wanted the board to be on board.
When did you say, Terry?
3rd, next week. So they plan to start next week, and weather permitting, they should be out of here the following week or within 2 weeks.
Do they put any sort of fencing around, like?
I think they will have it coned off or barricaded off.
Yeah.
I told them if they need anything, help from us as far as fencing, cones, barricades, by all means, let me know. I've offered our lift. We have a man lift, so I've offered our lift. If that saves us some money in the end, he said he'd take that into consideration. They will be bringing their forklift here probably Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And we'll just stage it out back until they get ready to bring their materials and things, probably Tuesday. I would guess they'll start bringing materials and stuff on that Tuesday and then begin after that. But I just wanted the board aware that we'll have to close off this section until that project is done and come in the side door. And we'll just make signs or whatever and put them on there, just direct everybody with arrows to access the municipal building.
Any comments?
No, not that, I just had, did you have any, insights as to the stormwater issue on your, because you didn't.
We didn't really have a lot of issues. There were some plugged up ones, and we've been out, and as you can see on my report, we've been out backing out catch basins.
I'm sorry, because we were talking about, there's possibly a lot of people that have sump pumps in their basement.
Yeah.
And you've been here a long time.
Yep.
And I guess at one point there was a report and stuff, and I didn't know if you had any insight or sort of historic, on your end.
The only thing I can tell you is that's what everybody did back in the day. They had a sump pump and they tied it into their sewer system.
Yeah.
And they really don't want, they don't want us or anybody from the village walking in their basement and looking and deciding. I mean, I've been in basements and I've seen them.
Yeah.
Do I think that it's one of the leading causes of I&I? I don't think it's the major issue. It actually, it adds up. But there's rain gutters maybe that are in. Now that would. Maybe some breaks in pipes or cleanouts that are wide open. But all in all, I know over the years that the village has been steadfast to isolate those areas and take those out of the storm or regular sanitary sewer and put in storm sewer. So
Yeah, one thing we were talking about is we won't really want to get the word out, so people they might not realize that there's,
and a lot of people don't.
Some pump into this sewer.
And it would be, in a perfect world, it'd be great if we had a storm sewer line on each side of the road and we could tie everybody's line right into the storm sewer,
Yeah.
just like in a regular sewer.
Right.
It would be awesome, but we know how much money that would cost. But yeah, if we could just start a brand new utopia, we'd have, it would be a perfect world.
Yeah.
Everything would be pristine, but unfortunately, we know this village has been around a long time, and we've come a long way. In the 30 years that I've been here, it's amazing the infrastructure improvements that I've seen over the years. I mean, we had water leaks once a week. We were getting called in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
It rarely happens, knock on wood, anymore. But that's because of board members like you stepping up and saying, hey, in the end of the day, you're saving money because you're not having to pay all that overtime and all that wear and tear on the equipment in the middle of winter. And it's not fun at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
20 below zero when your pumps are freezing up trying to get water out of a ditch. It's just not fun. So, yeah, that's,
And we got to spread the word to the public.
yeah, you're right.
This matters.
And a lot of people do care about it,
Yeah.
they do, but it's just, what do I do with it? They're like,
Yeah.
what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Well, you can,
Okay.
dig a basin in your backyard and, put some sort of French drain or, there's ideas you can do. I have a drainage problem at my house, and that's kind of what I've done over the years. I've just dug little trenches with French drains, and
Yeah.
I don't have the access to a storm drain, so
Yeah, no,
I'd
that's
be
it.
there.
No, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else for Terry? I'd like to also acknowledge that, and I forgot at the last meeting, he's been with us 31 years
No?
as of this month.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve you all.
He's done a great job for us.
I still like my job. Except in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's right.
Any questions on the consent agenda?
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Terry. No questions, comments? Could I have a motion for that? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Capital projects? A motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Amanda, do you know about this one under the clerk?
Don't know a lot. She came in and spoke with Joanne the first time she's ever been late.
I'm sorry, Dan, can you speak up?
Yep. She came in and spoke with Joanne first time she's been late. She's looking for a one-time waiver of the penalty.
Is this something that we do?
Mayor Zimmer used to call it a one and done.
How do you
Penalty
keep
once
track of
and
it?
then you don't. It shows in the water system, in our grading system. If it's been rated, it shows.
How much money are we talking about?
It is. I think it's.
But we're just waiving the penalty.
Yep, just.
Right. Potential.
$31.02.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amanda?
Sorry. Okay, I just need a motion to accept the June agenda
Motion?
Second?
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And so the next two are related to the new zoning officer. We just need to move funds from, it's one line item is contract expenditures. So we budgeted in there for any expenditures for zoning or codes. So we need to move that to a personnel line because now we're paying them we're paying them salary. And then the second one is for the social security portion of that. We approximated 15 hours a week. And he's at 23 grand.
Is this just Social Security or is it Social Security and Medicare?
Social Security and Medicare.
I'm party.
Social Security and Medicare.
So FICA is what it is. Yeah.
It's listed in our budget as Social Security.
Okay.
So. Unfortunately, we have to do them as two separate motions because they're two different, we're moving to two different items.
And it's not changing the overall cost, just moving it like.
We budgeted 20,000 in the 2,400 line for moving 19. In 10, we also budgeted 20,000. We moved a little bit of that for the code office when the zoning was planned.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And number 3 for the social security and FICA.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Next is just the AFR. The fiscal year 2023 AFR has finally been filed with the New York State Comptroller. They have reviewed it. We are moving on to the 2024 finally. And I can't tell you how happy I am to say that. Single audit 2022 and 23 are complete, have been submitted again to the federal clearinghouse that it's submitted to. They've both been submitted. I will send the reports to you tomorrow now that our email is back up and running. They're not for public use, so I didn't add them in the packet. And I didn't want to send them through personal email. So now that our emails are back up, I'll send those tomorrow. But we're moving forward. The auditor, I had a good conversation with him Friday. He did a lot of work. He contacted the person that did our financial statements for 2021 and 22, our audit, 2020 and 21. He worked with the prior auditor. It's a lot to put together all of our capital projects. We had a little bit of discussion, I believe, one again for 2024 that he could do that for us. It would be much less time because he's got a handle of the last 4 years now. Yes, he has a good history of the last 4 years. So, took a while to get there.
I spoke with him this afternoon, and his thoughts are this: if an audit needs to be, which it probably does because of your rural development and the projects, the AFR and the audit can be wrapped up soon. We will not be behind as we were the last years. We've always been behind. We are behind because of our capital projects. So if you take one project, may have 3 or 4 different funding sources, and pulling all that information together has been challenging for any auditor. And that's the primary reason that we have been delayed. EFPR was delayed in many respects, but right now we appear to be on a very good path to be done much more in time and to do that from now on. And I asked the auditor, will he stay? And yes, he'll stay with us. So I feel very encouraged about that.
And do we have that in our budget to, like, do we know what his budget is for this year?
We don't, unfortunately. Now that he has a handle on it, he's willing to move forward each year.
We'll have a better handle. I think we've often used the number that we've used previously from our past ones.
Just, right.
Yeah. So that's very
But we don't need any motion or anything, just
No,
that's just
we're
information.
just letting you know it's
Thank you.
complete. The only thing I have to talk about is I wanted to clarify the comments I made, or that when I brought up about the e-bikes and scooters at the last one. Apparently, people think that I'm looking to not let them be in the village, not to have them. That was not the case at all. That was not the case at all. The case was I just want to make sure that our pedestrians are safe. And that was it. I am not looking to take them away, to take away the scooters, to change laws, to change the code, nothing. Just let's make sure that we keep an eye on as this progresses, so that people do not get hurt. That's my only comment. If you would put that in the paper, I would appreciate it, because I wasn't looking to take away scooters and e-bikes.
The paper didn't say that.
It said that I was looking to change the code, and I was not looking to change the
To look into
code.
whether something should be added to zoning.
Yes, and we weren't doing that. It was just a conversation over safety, because as we see every year, these things are going to become more popular. Trustee Red-Eye?
I went to a library meeting last week, and there's a patron that's harassing staff at the library. I believe that Shaw Cross has been involved, and some adjustments have been made to that patron's accessibility to the library, preventing him to go there, and that's the right move. Certainly no one should be afraid to go to work. No one should feel, afraid to do their job and feel they have a right to feel safe where they are. So I just want the library to know that we fully support their safety there. And it's an unfortunate circumstance. So the other thing is they're going to add seamless gutters to the side now that the roof's completed. The soffit along the south side has been vented, and they're wondering now that these improvements have been made, if they won't have as many problems with the ice dams forming on the roof, and maybe that side ramp will be more accessible, because they're looking at also rebuilding the front ramp, and maybe that's not necessary. There's a real commercial set of modern doors to enter the library through the nonfiction wing in the back. And that whole door system, to me, and the way the ramp is constructed, just looks like, to me, an easier way for somebody that's in a wheelchair to get in and out of the library.
Using the side
Using
ramp.
the side
Yeah.
ramp. Using the front ramp looks cumbersome. You have many turns that you have to make, and then you go through the door lock system that's in the vestibule, and all of that looks difficult. They're improving it with automatic doors, and they're still working on a few kinks that the doors need to operate just smoothly. So they're thinking now, like, maybe we'll wait on rebuilding the ramp on the front and see how the ice is on the side. That's it.
Great, thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just had a quick update. So the,
Oh, yeah, sure.
yeah, the climate smart community, we kind of got bogged down with the email issue for a second, but we were originally talking about doing a public information center, or session rather, in September, but now we're going to postpone it until October. I'll give you guys more information when I have it. But the idea is we want the public to know what we're doing sooner rather than later, so that they can be involved. But things are moving Yeah, well, it's a good group. Thanks.
Anyone else? Mr. Frickman, did you have anything to say?
Do I have 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
I think most of you know that I grew up here, 2 houses down, spent a lot of time here. I love Clayton. I think it's a fantastic place. I think, and anything I say here is not criticism on anybody. It's just my observations of being in this village and a couple of the concerns that I have. I know you guys got a lot on your plate, and I'm certainly learning about small government on a daily basis, and I certainly have to do a lot more homework to understand it. I'm probably going to be heading back to Florida and come and return back in the springtime, and maybe think about some permanent residence. And how, all I want to do is help, and I think y'all know that. So, just a really couple of quick observations is 2 abandoned houses. There's an abandoned house on Frontenac and River Shore owned by a bank, and my friends who were here for that were in Airbnb, the place is a dump. And then again, I don't know what the village involvement in doing something. I mean, it was like a hayfield in this abandoned house right next to this nice Airbnb that my friends were, and I treated them all for 3 days to do all sorts of cool things, and they told me how critical I was of the village, and I think it's just observations. The other abandoned house is next to Tony Agliano, across from the high school with Fourth Coast, and they own it. I understand a real estate company owns it, and it is got vermin in it. Tony has had constant problems. The garage is open, the door's open, the windows are broken, and it's a dump. And I don't know what the village can do to put pressure on these people to do something about it, And especially being across from the high school where there's kids, and Tony's got a 5-year-old. And I'm sorry I didn't have an opportunity to talk with Terry, is that I understood that skunk was rabid.
Yes, it was.
So it's like, okay, well, what about some of these other animals in the village, and is there a follow-up to that? And certainly that house attracts. He said he's had foxes, squirrels, raccoons, skunks in that building, and I think it'd be better for the community as a whole to do something with it. The other thing is the tree. Okay, Cornell Extension came and did an observation of the tree, and she told me that it may be a champion tree. And a champion tree is that it's a silverleaf maple, and it may be the largest silverleaf maple in the United States.
Which tree? Which tree?
The tree in front of the Woodbolt Brewery.
Oh, okay, got it.
It may
Where
be...
they're thinking about building the...
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Correct. So it's like, geez, is there not other alternatives? The other thing that I've kind of got a sense of is between the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Town Board, the Village Board, Planning Board, is a lot going on, and I know just from the way that you guys communicate with one another, is that communication of these issues certainly is paramount. And I just encourage the continuation of doing that with all these local issues. I think that's it. But those, the abandoned house, the tree. There's other issues in this town, but you guys are aware of that. But I appreciate the time that you let me come up here and share some of my thoughts with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Yeah, well, I got some good business.
What is that?
Is it a conference?